Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Krishna here. We'll get started now. I think we have most of the people join. Thank you for joining the call on this Wednesday morning. I will start this call with a brief demo of the assessments that we have put online. Am I audible? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear, Krishna.
Oh, all right, good. Thanks. So I'll start with the assessments demo. It's not an end-to-end demo because each of these assessment would take 10 to 15 minutes to fill. Just to give you a brief overview on what we have implemented on the platform, and also then go through the regular updates towards the end of the call. What we'll go through is I'll just start sharing my screen with the presentation, and then we can get started. Are you able to share this, see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, good. So just to get started, last week we rolled out the NIST 171 GDPR and CMMC.
Hey, Krishna, it's on the presentation view. If you just flip different monitor, should be the big screen there. Sorry about that.
Okay. Wait a second. How about now? Is it okay now? Are you able to see it?
We are again. We're seeing the notes.
There we go.
Yeah. Now?
We're good.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. So just to start with, so we had rolled out 3 assessments last week, which had the 171, the GDPR, and the CMMC2. So we will briefly go through on what is covered in each of these assessment, and I will show it on the system and show a pre-done assessment to see how the output would look like. Okay. So now switching back to the 171 assessment, what we have done is we have covered all the 14 domains in the assessment, and each of these assessments are manual assessments that would check the implementation status of the families, as they call it in the NIST 171 parlors, and against the implementation status of that control and the policy status. So the policy and procedure status is checked against whether it's an informal policy, whether it's a partially documented, what state the policy is in, whether it needs approval, or the 100% complete state, which is documented and approved. And also the implementation of policy, whether it's not implemented, partially implemented, or fully implemented. And the scoring is based on that. So what you see in that tabular column below is the assessment output that comes in the form of an Excel sheet where you have all the questions and the answers that are captured from what you give as an input on the assessment form. So I will now switch to the actual platform and show you the assessment form. Okay.
Are these actively in the current V4
That is
release,
correct.
or are they waiting?
Yes, it is. It is under assessments. It's available under assessments. Yes. So if you hope you can see the screen now with the assessments.
Negative. No screen.
No screen? No?
Very good.
There we go.
All right. Okay. Sorry. So if you go to the assessments under the compliance, you can see these assessments that are available. And you can see, first we'll go to the NIST 171 assessment. So when you start an assessment, you will see so these are the pre-done assessments. I have completed one assessment called test, just to show the output and the artifacts. And you have the a default template that is being used for the assessment. You can see that here. So basically, for every question that is there, you have to answer based on the policy status, whether the policy is informal, whether the policy needs an approval, whether the policy is documented or it's partially documented. And correspondingly, the implementation status, whether it's not implemented, fully implemented, or partially implemented. And you can give in your comments here as an assessor what you find. So for every control check that we do, we have a reference that's from the NIST 171 itself. It gives you a guidance of what is being checked and what you're looking for. In addition to that, we have a provision where you can, okay, sorry, since I did not save the template, it's asking me to save before. So I'll open an assessment that was already done. 1 second, so that you can show how to. So if you have a partially done assessment, you can go and save it. And you also have a provision of uploading evidence where you can choose a file. You can choose multiple files and upload it as an artifact against a control assessment. So this is in a nutshell how the assessment works. And it goes through all the 14 areas and all the several questions that are in each of the functional areas. Now, once this is saved, you can download it in the form of a zip file, and the zip file would contain an Excel, the evidence that you have now uploaded, and also a Word format. Now, I will share the Excel format on the screen. So are you able to see the Excel format?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. So this is how the Excel format would come. It would come as what are the areas that are checked, what is the guidance, what is the status of your answer, and if there has been any evidence that has been uploaded against specific questions. Now, the assessment will have a summary that will give you a summary of what is the implementation status and what is the policy status and an overall summary of your compliance with the NIST 171. Okay, so many of these features that I've shown you here, like the evidence upload, multiple evidence uploads, Excel format and download, are common across all the assessments that we have. Now, let me switch back again to the next assessment, which is GDPR. One second, I'll have to stop sharing and reshare. So in the GDPR assessment, we have covered all the 10 domains of the GDPR with accountability, governance, processing principles, the data subject rights in the same manner. The difference here being that you confirm whether these controls have been implemented. So the overall assessment is about the effectiveness of those control and how it's implemented. So the overall assessment will show you whether that domain, whether there's a risk of objectives not being met due to serious control, whether it's limited, the status of that control is limited. Now, based on the answers that you provide for that section, the assessment could be satisfactory. A framework of controls are in place, but the controls need to be strengthened further. And if it's all 100% covered, your assessment will be substantial, that there is a robust framework of controls percent which are applied continuously. So these are the pre-assessment status that are available. Now, let me switch back to the switch back to the screen and show you the assessment screens on the platform. Give me 1 second when I switch back. So once you go back, you would see, you would go back to the compliance screen. From there, you launch the GDPR assessment.
You're on the wrong screen again.
If you hit that swap displays, it probably will switch it over on the top
Yeah,
left.
I did swap the display. Let me just do again. Are we okay now? Can you see the GDPR assessment screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, if I go to let me just go to an assessment that's so basically here the questions are whether the organization has, it's a straightforward question. It's the answers are just yes or no, whether you have find it, and you have a guidance on what to verify. Verify the data protection policy and whether it's maintained and updated on a timely manner. Verify the details of training programs, whether it's a GDPR requirement training is done to the staff. And so these are direct question and answers that needs to be filled up by the assessor. And once this is all filled up, they can go ahead and submit. I mean, DPO appointment, things about DPO appointment, whether DPO responsibilities has been documented, whether DPO has full knowledge of the task. So it's basically interview and assessment of the staff and the organization, and also looking at the compliance against the policies that have been approved at an organization level. So this is what is done. So once these are filled up, again, like I mentioned before, we go ahead and save this and mark as completed and download. So once this is downloaded, what it gives you is again an Excel sheet format with Excel sheet format, a Word format, and a folder containing evidences for the uploaded evidences. So basically, this will be the way the status of each of the domain will be exhibited. What is the status based on the questions and answers you have provided? You have a detail sheet which gives you a guidance on the guidance and the questions and the answers that you have provided in full details. Okay. So these are the two artifacts that would be produced as a part of the completion of this assessment. Now I'll have to switch back to the presentation again. Give me 1 second. Okay. Now the CMMC assessment. So CMMC assessment, the as is built is a level 2 assessment that we have built on the platform based on the ask that we had. So it contains a level 1 questions as well. So it covers all the 14 domains, starting from the access control, awareness training, audit and accountability, all the 14 domains that you find in the NIST 171. Now the last slide will give a brief comparison of the difference between the NIST 171 and the CMMC. Just to, because that's a common question that gets asked, we have NIST 171 and we have CMMC that refers to NIST 71. What is the difference between these two? Okay. Now the CMMC clearly gives the scope as for the level 1. Level 1 is a reduced scope and it's usually as a self-assessment, and it actually looks at the process and the assets that basically have a direct impact on the process, storage, and transmission of federal contract-related information. The level 2 has CUI plus FCA assets. Now, in addition to that, in level 2, they also consider contractor managed assets and specialized assets information. That includes IoT, any other equipments that are used for any kind of data processing, data transmission. So the CMMC level 2 is a larger scope, but CMMC L1 is a reduced scope. We will soon be coming up with a detailed CMMC assessment session down the line, probably a few weeks down the line. One of the calls, we will go through an L1 assessment and an L2 assessment end to end to demonstrate these. So in the difference in the assessment for the CMMC is, as per the latest guidelines, it's either you meet the success of a contractor who is being assessed meets the practice, or they don't meet the practice, or that practice does not apply to the assessment. There are only 3 status that is defined by the DoD for all the CMMC assessments. So the reference for what needs to be done, there's a clear, when I show you the screen for that, you will see that there is a clear definition of what needs to be checked, who needs to be interviewed, and what should be the reference for that interview and test. And that's documented and given in the guidance that we provide on the platform. Okay. So again, switching back, give me 1 second to share the screen again. Switching back to the CMMC assessment. So we have an assessment that's been completed. So I will just start a new assessment for the demo purpose. So basically, it will indicate what level the question is for in case you want to use the same for level 1 assessment. All the level 2 you can mark as not applicable. So it will give you whether that objective is met, it's not met, or it's not applicable. In addition to that, you have, what you need to examine, access the control policy procedures. Then it will also tell you who you need to interview in terms when there is an interview needed. And also you have, let me just save this as a, demo call, and it'll let me upload. It'll let me upload, choose a file and upload as an artifact for that. So these features are currently available on the platform. Now, if I need to stop this halfway, I can just close this and leave and come back and edit it at a later point. So these are common features that are available across all the assessment that we provide. Now, once this assessment is done, you download the assessed Excel sheet. It comes with an Excel sheet format, a Word format, and also a form. The evidences that are uploaded will come in a separate evidence folder. So the Excel summary format for this would look like this. So the assessment form, this is the final summary of the assessment. So based on the questions that are answered for each of the families or domains, you meet 80% for the access controls, 20% is not met, and there is no not applicable control because we have not answered any of the not applicable controls. So this is the summary of your assessment. One advantage on such a report is that you can sort out with the things that are met and not met, and then have a corrective action as needed. Okay. So that is about the CMMC assessment that is available on the platform.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure, please go ahead.
So the question is, and please, other people speak up here. I've been a long time backer here of ConnectSecure Cyber CNS.
Sure.
There is a lot more to a CMMC assessment than answering these questions. And I think a lot of us may be using other tools. We're not going to necessarily use this tool for a CMMC assessment. We don't have the system description. We don't have the We don't have the diagram. There's so many things missing out of here. The poem, the action items, all those things are missing here. Are we
Sure.
planning to go that route, to go that far
Sure.
eventually, to have all of that built into this? Because it goes beyond that. When you define the system, we have all our assets in here. We need to be able to take our assets and say this IP scheme is not part of the system, so it's excluded from when we're doing asset reporting for CMMC. One of the issues now, there are other programs tying into Cyber CNS that are pulling asset reporting. And if you're pulling asset reports from your entire network, which includes all your non-system related subnets, they don't count in the system and should not even be anywhere near your SSP report or any of that. So the question is, why are we spending, this is from a long-time supporter here, why are we spending time on these assessments when there are still issues with V4 that are causing us not to be able to do the things we want to do? Just asking that question, and I'll be quiet after that, but I really wonder why we're spending that much time on this.
Sure. Now, that's the reason why I have clearly highlighted the CMMC scoping part in the slide. So this is just a self-assessment initial form. This will be enhanced to have automation at a later stage. So basically, what we have automated is the self-assessment form that is available on the DoD side. To an end-to-end for an end-to-end assessment for a level 2, as you rightly said, there are more factors that factor in. So the reason of highlighting the scope of this is to have this as a future development for additional features in automation, to have that asset, the complete asset listing based on the scope. You define the scope and do a end-to-end full assessment. Okay, so that will be a feature that we built in the future. But this is less a preliminary assessment to start with somewhere where you have all these assessment forms that are recommended by the DoD, which we have trying to automate on the platform.
Am I alone in my concerns out here, guys? Everybody else?
No, you're not alone. I think we've been addressing with them here lately. Yeah, you're not alone in that. I mean, I love that the new assessments I've asked for them are here. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if you're asking me this, and again, this is if we can bring this all into one tool and have our assessments and have all our assets built into it and have our SSPs, our POAMs, and there's a process that this goes through. And there are other companies that are trying to do this that are using Cyber CNS as the providing for evidence, bringing in the evidence directly into those programs. There's two that I know of that are directly connected to Cyber CNS and pulling the asset information. Unfortunately, that asset information is not that usable because the system needs in your segmented networks. That asset information is for the entire company, not just for the CMMC component of the company. So I just think that there is a huge amount of development that goes behind the CMMC or a GDPR or FTC or any of these assessments that to make them actually usable and useful to the MSP. And again, I think we should as a group here, and I've been very tolerant of the V3 to V4, but I'm just discussing online right now, the baselines aren't working. Application and service baselines aren't working. And that's a much more fundamental thing, because I can't give my client what they want out of the current Cyber CNS program. And that's what I need to be able to do, and I can't do that. So I can't make this part of my business yet because it's lacking in a few areas that can easily be fixed, and we're spending time on this. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I wish other people would speak up if possible. Big fan. I was one of the early people here, so I really believe in this, but I think we need to stay focused on what we need to stay focused on.
Sure, it's very well noted. And I'll proceed to the last slide that I have for today, which is the comparison between the NIST 871 and the CMMC, because this is what been asked, like what would be the difference, because the CMMC, as you all might know, it's a DoD standard and all the contractors needs to be compliant by it. And it refers to NIST 171 as a family of controls and the practices that needs to be set up. Now, the framework structure, it considers set of administrative technical requirements for the CUI, but CMMC provides a certification model. The compliance approach for NIST 171 is a self-assessment and attestation of compliance, and CMMC is a third-party assessor certification. The duration for 800 171 is assessed annually, whereas CMMC is valid for 3 years. The flexibility that it has, it provides more flexibility in how controls are implemented, but the CMMC has a physical control. And like rightly how it was pointed out, that there are more automation and components that are required to do an end-to-end CMMC assessment, and we agree to that. So basically, that was the deck I had. Now I'll just bring in the updates that we have for today, and let me just stop sharing and so these are the quick updates that we have for the day. Are you able to see the screen now? So we just went through the new addition of the new assessments, which are self-assessments for NIST, for GDPR, and the CMMC assessment. Now, in addition to that, we added the report custom template for the docx. So the report, they are now available for report customization. And you can download the default template, which is available on the report customization option. And you can change the font, the color, the company name, all these can be changed and customized as per need. And also you have an ability to add and delete rows and all the other features that comes in the inside the report as per your need. So this is one of the sample reports which we have used the one of the AD reports to show the time. Now, once you have done that, you can upload the custom docx editor template back to the repository, and it will be available in your portfolio, and it will be available as one of the under the standard reports. The custom report template will be under the standard reports for your So as a release update, we have the OS vulnerabilities which is available for the companies. It's available now. The vulnerability and OS summary and the vulnerability summary dashboard is available, which is waiting for release in the QA. And companies average and max the score under the metrics view is also available, waiting for release, which is under the QA now, which will be soon released. The company's average max risk score and on the card on the risk score on the dashboard is also waiting for release for the company. So this was the quick update that we had and the presentation. If there are any questions, we can take that. I'll stop sharing the screen now. So Dennis, I think the custom report template and the custom report template is what we just showed now, which is waiting for QA and will be released soon. So that is, I think that answers the question on the new report templates that were talked about, custom report templates. Anyone out there work with application baseline? I'm not seeing any data populated in the application baseline.
I opened a ticket yesterday and
Okay.
just wondered if other people were seeing the same thing or if it's something with my setup. That's why I asked the group. The one person said they're having a problem, but I'm not getting any baseline.
Okay, Steve, we'll have someone get back to you immediately. If you can just put the ticket number and send a mail across, we'll take that up directly. Yeah.
Yeah, and my concern is that are we getting all the data we're supposed to be getting? And I see someone else just put that in there where the vulnerability scanner is not updating consistently. So I think we just need to understand where we're. This is business stopping if we're not getting accurate information. So we need to make sure we're doing it.
No, we'll definitely have someone get back to you immediately. We have taken note of the question, and if you can drop in an email, I will just put my email address on the group now, and you can write directly. I'll take this up with the team and have someone get back to you immediately. What was the next question? I think this question was great. The V4 features are in parity, Jake, with the V3. I think as committed on the previous call, I think we are on track for the delivery of the on-prem for V4, which was May 15th. There's not been any changes on that.
Okay, I just wanted, Krishna, I just basically got pulled in by the folks because there were a lot of questions on V4, which basically requires answers. First is application baseline. We found an issue last week with the application baseline, and the fix for it was basically rolled out last week on Saturday itself. And we basically have checked multiple times and basically seen that the application baselines are fine. So Steve, if you are having a problem with the application baseline, just give me half an hour after this call. I'll have that looked into and resolved. Jeremy said that I found V4 to be super clunky and not intuitive at all. Feel like I'm spending a lot of time. Jeremy, what I would basically say is that if you go into the settings and basically kind of make the menu on the left-hand side, you basically get exactly what you were seeing in V3. And if you still feel that there are certain things which are clunky and not intuitive, I will have my UI lead, Swami, basically reach out to you and basically take your feedback and basically incorporate it into the product. So as I said, we basically are in the mode of basically making sure that you are comfortable with the product. And Mac, you basically pointed out that the scores are different. Yes, the scores are different because I've got through this before. There are 286 extra checks that the V4 agent is doing over V3. Okay. Now, if you all feel that is the right thing to do, we will basically backport it to V3 for the time frame that it is there. But the point is that we incorporated extra checks, this thing to make sure that so there were two parts to this whole story, right? When we incorporated this whole thing, one is like there are a lot of irrelevant checks that we are and CVEs that we are putting in there, primarily because a lot of partners kept coming back to us saying that, oh, Nessus showed me this, you guys didn't show me this, and we are spending a lot of time trying to figure out like, is this correct or not correct? And most of the times we basically find that those are false positives, but unfortunately, every time we are being measured on how many things are you reporting on versus what is it that you're reporting on. And that is one part of it. Second is that we were genuinely missing a few checks, which are basically on the network side, which has all been basically brought in right now. So we do a whole bunch of checks from a network vulnerability perspective. So basically the scoring is also different. Now, when you see that A, if you basically click on the score A, right, you actually will get a scoring rubric, which essentially shows how we arrived at that particular score. I think that is not being clearly highlighted, and I will tell my UI lead to basically make sure that it's highlighted. But wherever you see a score, A, B, company level, asset level, if you click on it, it will actually show you how this, it's a pop-up will come up, which will show you how are we calculating that score and why is that asset getting that score, or why is that company getting that score. So that is there, and I think it is not being highlighted enough. So I will essentially kind of create a mechanism by which it can be highlighted, where it shows clearly as a link that can be put up over there. So these are things that I would essentially say that these will be put in place.
So shall I scroll to the next questions, or are you able to see them?
I think for one of the users that was unable to see the dashboard, there's a bug in the UI. If you put the dashboard on the left, you see options that don't exist when you put the dashboard on the top.
Okay.
On the top, there's an assessments button, but it doesn't do anything unless you turn on the slider. On the layout, the thin layout on the left, there's an assessments button that works. But I don't know where that is on the top button. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in that I can find in the other top menu. Maybe just me.
So Steve, I'll have my UI lead Swami connect with you very quickly for 5 minutes. Look at it, and whatever needs to be fixed, he will fix it up there, and he'll roll it out to live. Charles, I noticed the dashboard is reporting incorrect. Charles, the dashboard and basically whatever data you see inside is all reporting from the same source. So it won't be incorrect. It's basically, especially with risk scores, etc., there is some confusion around what is basically, especially when you talk about risk scores, there are certain things, right? An asset, basically, when we calculate the risk score, we basically take the weighted average and then basically give you the risk score of that asset. And then when we report it for a company, we have now moved it into two specific things. One is a max risk score, and what is a average risk score, because we figure that certain people would like to use the average risk score. Some people would like to use the max risk score, because looking at it from a security perspective, right? When you talk about a risk score, if you have basically a CISA notified critical vulnerability, then you're supposed to have a risk of 10, 100, whatever the greatest risk, right? Now, even if one machine has it, that company has the high risk. But however, you may want to say that it's only one machine that has it, it's not across the organization, and I want an average. So we provided both of those. And so you can basically tune those values as per what you want to basically present in the reports and the UI. That is what we basically provided right now. And as we go forward, we'll basically make it a setting, and so it'll be there. So Charles, if we have been working with multiple folks on the dashboards, we have not seen any issues being reported in terms of values being incorrect. If it is happening in your particular case, I will have my dashboard team basically reach out to you and basically get this sorted out. Ryan, can you just take Charles' details, and we will essentially reach out and basically close this out.
Do you all mind if I post a script that Dev gave me to make sure that the CyberCNS agent.exe is installed, updated properly? Because during the transition, it appears that sometimes the receiving machine didn't fully update and there's some files missing. They wrote a script for me that works, and I wonder if I can post that here.
Absolutely, you can post it, Steve. Whatever we provide you is your property. So
Just going to post it in raw text. So use at your own risk. That's too long. Sorry, I can't send it.
no, I'll ask Ryan to put it in a KB and basically publish it to everyone. Not to worry.
Yeah, they wrote it for me to. Yeah, if you don't have it, or if I can. Let's see, upload as file.
Ryan, I'll ask our development team to send it across to you. Not to worry.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Shiva. Steve, this is Ryan Seymour here, ConnectSecure. Thanks for offering to share that. I'm curious, for maybe set the stage for the partners that are here, how you're using that script. Is that something that you're having your RMM run on a nightly, a daily basis, or what context are you using that script for?
I'm actually running it on a ad hoc basis, manual basis, because what I was finding is that I guess when the V4 came in, it made Connect Cyber CNS agent.exe old and new, but it actually didn't have Cyber CNS agent.exe, was not there. So the first script they wrote was just to make sure it was updated to 4.3.27, and that worked, but it still didn't fix the problem of some being offline because the Cyber CNS agent just wasn't there. Even though it was showing as a service, you couldn't start it because it wasn't there. And so this script they rewrote. I rewrote one. Me and Copilot wrote another one, but they wrote this one, and I think it's better.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll make sure we get that published in our docs for everybody. Just wanted to have a little context about how it's going to be used.
Yeah, it's just to make sure the V4 is up to date. So on all your machines. So there it is. And it's a PowerShell, just PowerShell script, ran it out. Ninja RMM, whatever.
So perfect. So folks, see, we are constantly watching the data that is coming in, what is happening, etc. And we are basically seeing better data uptakes, better data that is basically consistent. A lot of backend changes have happened to basically kind of automate a lot of these processes and make sure that basically that all of the data is coming from different endpoints and what versions are running in the field. So we're running a lot of analytics in the backend to basically make sure that these things are fixed. And maybe sometime next week or the week after, I'll show you how we as a team basically run our analytics in the backend to essentially kind of make sure that your data is consistent. A lot of cases where you are basically saying that, okay, I've already uninstalled this thing, but the path does not exist, etc. We have basically gone through those things. So the simple thing is that we use OS query, as you all know, and we essentially rely on the output of OS query. There are certain times when OS query is caching certain items, and basically probably a couple of hours or 3 hours later, you'll actually see that go away. So especially in relation to basically the file table, because if it starts scanning the file table every time, it'll basically become too heavy. So we have noticed that. So we are figuring out ways by which we can basically kind of replace that cache. We just didn't spend too much of time on that because we said, okay, if the system is going to recognize this change in a couple of hours or 3 hours, within 3 hours, basically it will clear up on the portal. And if it does not clear up in 3 hours, yeah, of course, it's basically a bug that is there because the data is not being sent or whatever it is. But otherwise, basically, what we are noticing is that we are seeing more current data and data is coming into the system fairly quickly. and there are no inconsistencies that we are noticing right now in most of the cases. Now, specific cases where we are noticing inconsistencies are cases where basically, for example, there are certain registries which are there, or basically, especially with roaming profiles, there are a few tickets that we are having where we suddenly found some application basically as part of the roaming profile, but then basically we are not seeing it as part of the main profile. So now we are basically adding that setting wherein you can choose to not scan any of the roaming profiles that are there on the machine. So these are some of the changes that we're making so that basically it becomes more consistent and more relevant. So as I said, if you're finding any inconsistency, please send over the things to us. And wherever it's urgent, please basically mark my email. I've always given you my email, shiva@connectsecure.com. I'm happy to basically get attention to you and basically get things sorted out immediately. If that's all the questions, then basically thank you all for your time and basically have a great day today. And we'll meet up next week.
Thank you. Thank you.